This is PRIME7 Local News with Madeleine Collignon, Kenny Hinkley and meteorologist Carl Linders with your local weather. Now, PRIME7 Local News at 6.
Tonight, sandbagging is underway as the Murray faces the threat of flooding and a big blizzard is coming too.
A review is underway into regional airport security, how it will affect our travel plans.
The exhibition to honour some unsung war heroes.
And I'll have the latest details on this cold outbreak for the end of the working week. Your weather details coming up.
Good evening. Farmers across the border are bracing for wild weather as severe storms hit the region.
Flood warnings have been issued for the Murray and King rivers, with some farmers moving stock to higher ground. Snow is also on the way, but tonight it's water and wind causing the biggest problems.
Preparations are underway in the Upper Murray as residents get ready for the worst.
Landholders, particularly with livestock or machinery in the floodplain, might be thinking about moving those things up and out of the way.
This severe weather warning is bad news for sheep and cattle farmers.
Calving, lambing, where you've got young animals and they're freshly born, they're exposed, and so that wind will be trouble.
It might look like a blessing for the ski fields, but those considering a trip to the snow are being told to wait a week.
The alpine areas of New South Wales are looking quite interesting. We might see some blizzard conditions up there for a little while.
But farmers say with the good comes the bad.
We have to handle the rougher weather to get to the good, but the rainfall is very, very beneficial.
If you do need a hand from the SES, call 13500 or for emergency assistance, dial 000.
As the heavy rain hits the border, many catchments and lakes reach flooding point. Eleanor Tabone is out and about for us tonight. Eleanor, how are the rivers holding up?
Kenny, as you can see from behind me, the Ovens River is full and both the King and Ovens is on flood warning. So the experts are warning people to be aware.
Be expecting to see that continue for the next 12 to 24.
Now, if you are heading out on the road, you're told to slow down, and if you're planning on heading up to the snow, it is law to carry chains.
All right, thanks Eleanor. Eleanor Tabone there. So the storm is on the way. Carl is here to give us a lowdown on exactly what is happening.
And Carl, just when are we expecting to see the worst of this weather?
Okay, we'll come in two parts, guys. We've got firstly a cold front moving through eastern suburbs of Melbourne this evening, and it's triggering some very heavy showers through that part of the world. Today we've had showers ahead of that, but the heaviest of the rain will come through at around about 9 till midnight tonight. Then a secondary front we'll get to in a moment. 14 degrees at Albury today. The heaviest rain was 58 millimetres at Lake William Hovell and Mount Buffalo Chalet, and there's more on the way as we have this polar blast coming up from the southern ocean. Speckled cloud indicates cold air. There's a lot of showers, widespread thunderstorms and hail associated with that, and very strong winds. The isobars or the lines are very tight together. They tilt vertically, so southerly winds coming in tomorrow, bringing some very cold air. By the weekend, it will settle down, but before then, we will have severe weather warnings out for damaging winds and heavy rainfall for alpine areas in particular from tomorrow. I'll have details on what you can expect later on, guys. More to come.
Okay, excellent, mate. Thanks. Talk to you soon. The Minister for Transport has ordered a review into regional airport security following concerns around terrorism vulnerability. Passengers boarding some regional airlines are exempt from security checkpoints due to aircraft weight regulations.
For those travelling on airlines such as Rex, it's as simple as checking in, walking out the gate and boarding the aircraft. Under federal law, if an aircraft weighs less than 20 tonnes, passengers don't need to be security screened.
I'm very comfortable that at the moment we've got it right, but that's not to say it won't change tomorrow. The government has got a very flexible approach to these matters.
The Minister for Transport has announced a review of regional airport security measures, given recent terror threats.
The point of this review, though, is to make sure that we're staying ahead of the game, to stay ahead of the current threats and make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep the travelling public safe.
Rex says introducing screening would be extremely expensive and difficult. It argues its regional aircraft carries less passengers than most buses, and it would therefore be senseless to enforce screening on one type of transport and not the other. However, passengers say they'd pay the extra bucks to feel safe.
It does make you worry. And I'd pay extra if you had to, because it's for your own safety and your family's safety.
Many say it's a no-brainer.
With all the terrorists and things that are around now, I think you certainly got to have it. We don't know who's coming in, who's coming out, who's got what.
Obviously, the most recent terrorism threat caused some alarm in the community. I want to reassure people it is safe to travel in Australia. We have the safest skies in the world.
A total of 170 regional airports across Australia will be considered in the review. Caitlin Tugakino, PRIME7 News.
There's fears that the Mungabarina Reserve will not be repaired in time for a key Indigenous festival next month. Heartless hoons damaged the reserve earlier this week. Now local Aboriginal leaders are calling for the Albury Council to do more to stop the vandals.
There's a lot of Indigenous history at Mungabarina Reserve.
It's a sacred place. Initiations were held here. Young men were brought out and initiated here. Wedding ceremonies were held here.
But just weeks out from an important Aboriginal celebration, it's been desecrated by four-wheel driving vandals. It's now doubtful the site will be restored to its full glory before the festivities.
Not acceptable at all. How would they like it if we encroached on their properties and done the same thing?
Elders fear this won't be the last time it happens and have called on Albury City Council to erect signs dissuading hoons from damaging the reserve.
I just struggle to understand what putting up signs will do to dissuade this type of behaviour.
Mayor Kevin Mack says he's more than willing to come to the table with our Indigenous community, but believes there's a better approach.
The secret is to get their feelers out on the ground and find out who's doing this, so that if we get some arrests and we get some people that are charged with this behaviour.
The only other option, close the sacred ground to the public.
We don't want to put locks on gates. That is totally not our way of handling things. But eventually, if it comes to that, maybe that's a process we as a Wiradjuri people would have to go down and lock people out.
Anyone with information on the damage is urged to call Crime Stoppers. Josh Ribrich, PRIME7 News.
Police say it could take up to 6 months to determine the cause of yesterday's horror crash near Benalla, which claimed one man's life. Major collision investigators say an 82-year-old man had been driving slowly along the Hume Freeway before a truck smashed into the back of his ute, causing it to flip. Paramedics tried to free the trapped man, but he died at the scene. Police interviewed the 36-year-old truck driver, who was not hurt in the crash, and have released him pending further inquiries. Anyone who witnessed the collision has been urged to come forward. Up to 100 Wangaratta Council workers are set to take industrial action tomorrow after more pay talks broke down without reaching any deal. Josh Riberich has been following the dispute. And Josh, what sort of action will take place?
Maddie, affected staff will still be at work but will stop taking calls and emails. The latest offer has included a 1.5% pay rise, but does come at the expense of allowances and annual performance bonuses. The Services Union says changes to termination clauses are also concerning, and after today's meeting, Council still haven't put forward an offer that meets its workers' needs. They have moved on some wording on the dispute clause though.
The other two matters they didn't want to move on, so we've said that they need to move on those matters, and we're still firm that we want to retain the current wording.
The union says if Council doesn't come back with a better offer by 9 a.m. tomorrow, workers will start to take action by 1:30 p.m.
All right, thanks Josh. Josh Riberich there in our newsroom. The state government has plans, big plans I should say, to spend $500 million targeting local economies in country New South Wales, but the opposition has accused them of simply paying catch-up. Serena Nastasi reports. We are not up to that. We might come back to that later, but let's find out what's coming up after the break.
Sure, still to come in PRIME7 News, the $500 spend for local economies, but where will it all go?
And some entertainment through hard times, why singers and dancers were so important to our soldiers on the front line.
Stay in touch 24/7 with PRIME7 News.
Back to the story we almost got to before. The state government has big plans to spend $500 million targeting local economies in country New South Wales. But the opposition has accused them of simply playing catch-up. Serena Nastasi reports.
The Premier and Deputy Premier today announced a $500 million Growing Local Economies Fund, which it's hoped will boost infrastructure across country New South Wales. The money is part of a $1.3 billion regional growth fund, which was announced in this year's budget. And the funding model will be targeted, meaning it will be shared evenly across all corners of the state and help play up the individual business strong suits of each region, like tourism, manufacturing and agriculture. Of course, roads, rail, electricity and water upgrades would also be funded. It has a very broad criteria. The Deputy Premier is urging local governments, businesses and community groups to apply with their local MP if they have specific infrastructure proposals. Labor has reacted to the announcement, telling PRIME7 this is infrastructure the country should already have. Shadow Minister for Regional Development David Harris also pointed at the government's recent announcement to create new trains for the country, saying if the government is serious about jobs in the region, it would commit to manufacturing those trains in regional New South Wales and not overseas. Serena Nastasi, PRIME7 News.
The unsung heroes among our war veterans are being honoured at the Albury Library Museum's new exhibition. Musical performers and entertainers were brought in to unite our soldiers, and one of our local vets say they played a crucial role.
This is a rare opportunity for the public to see a different side to a century of war. The Theatres of War exhibition offers an insight into a crucial distraction to the daily horrors many of our veterans faced.
Great for the troops, a morale booster, because some of them were down and out, and when you get the local idols, I suppose, in those days and sing along, and they were actually travelled all that way over to entertain us.
The exhibition highlights the crucial role music and theatre played during times of conflict, from the First World War right up to Afghanistan. One of the most striking items on display is this tin guitar built by Aussie soldiers at the Changi prison camp.
The endurance of these guys, what they were putting up with and suffering from, and yet they could still find the time to laugh and sing and have a good time.
For many of our returned servicemen and women, very few have fond memories of their time overseas. Entertainment was one.
It made you forget about what was actually going on outside the area that you're in, having the entertainment, and it might have only been for an hour or so, but it was just meant so much to the guys.
The exhibition will run until September 5. Josh Ribrich, PRIME7 News.
Still to come in PRIME7 News, we're going to be crossing to Fletcher Doherty about a controversial ban for North Albury's co-coach.
And playing for Les, how Albury United will honour their iconic supporter for the rest of the season.
North Albury is tonight considering an appeal against a tribunal ruling that has the local football community talking. Co-coach Dan Leslie has been suspended for the rest of the season after being found guilty of unbecoming conduct. Sports reporter Fletcher Doherty is with us from Bunton Park. Hello, Fletch. So what were the allegations against Leslie?
Thanks, Kenny. Yeah, these are some pretty serious allegations. What is being claimed is that Leslie, back in round 14, actually kicked Cora Rutherglen's Jay O'Donoghue in the head a number of times while he was on the ground. Now, what's made this investigation a little bit tricky is the fact that there's actually no vision of the incident, so last night's 3-hour-long tribunal relied heavily on witnesses. And two of Cora's witnesses were actually O'Donoghue's mother and uncle, who said they saw the attack, while Jay O'Donoghue himself said that Leslie kicked him 3 times. North Albury's witness, Joel Klemke, said he didn't see his teammate do anything untoward, but Leslie was found guilty and handed a 2-week suspension, which puts him out of action for the rest of the year. Now, the tribunal reached that 2-week sanction because O'Donoghue wasn't really injured after the incident, paired with Leslie's pretty clean record at the tribunal. But it's fair to say that North Albury are bitterly disappointed at the decision today and are already looking at their options for a potential appeal.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, it's not over. All right, thanks for that, Fletch. Fletcher Doherty there at Bunton Park. Albury United have vowed to play for Les for the remainder of the year. Les O'Brien died last week and was heavily involved with the Albury United Soccer Club for years. Now the Greens will use his memory as motivation heading into the finals.
It was a tough round for the Albury United Football Club.
Losing Les was huge throughout the club. Everyone felt it.
We all got brought closer together. We all played for him last week and we were around each other, so with the team there, it's good bonding. So.
Both men's and women's teams will play finals this year, with the men sitting second, the women third, well and truly in the mix. And they'll be playing for Les through the finals.
We'll be carrying him throughout the rest of the season as well, so it wasn't just last week, we'll have him with us for the rest of the season as well.
And while the club doesn't believe in fairy tales, making it to the grand final this year would be a fitting tribute to the man they called Chiefy.
If the grand final's held on Joe Art number 1, which is ours, it'll be an honour anyway for Orford to do that. And if we can hold up the cup, even big an honour for Chiefy. And we'll bring a tear to her eye, no doubt.
United take on the Boomers this weekend. Fletcher Doherty, PRIME7 News.
Lady Bandits star Steph Gorman is off to the States next year. The promising young point guard has committed to playing at Utah State University. Utah is a Division I college, so she'll be up against some of the best young players in America. The Bandits are hopeful she will be able to return for part of the Seabull season next year. Lavington is just one win away from claiming netball's O&M minor premiership. And in a fitting turn of fate, the team that stands in its way this weekend is arch rivals and reigning premiers Yarrawonga.
Last year's heartbreak has turned into one of Lavington's strongest ever seasons. They sit atop the ladder unbeaten and very impressive, and one more win will secure them the minor premiership.
The girls have worked really hard, so I guess it's a nice reward for that, and just gives you confidence going into the finals. We know that we have to win the big one, and that's what counts. We've been there before and lost, so it's a nice spot to finish, but the work just starts, I suppose.
The last time Lavington had a perfect home and away season, they went on to have a less than perfect final series, knocked out in straight sets back in 2012.
Certainly won't want to be repeating that, and we're lucky we've had some really tough games this year. We've had some really, really solid wins where we've come from behind, and that's held the girls in really good stead. So I think we know that when we're under pressure, we can perform.
Arch rivals Yarrawonga is the team that stands in the Panthers' way this weekend. Lavington claimed bragging rights earlier this year, but both teams were missing some key personnel. Yarra without Laura Burke, Lavington without Rhiannon Dollar-Henty. But they're both back this weekend in what is shaping up to be the grand final dress rehearsal. Fletcher Doherty, PRIME7 News.
Winter is returning, and so are the showers and the snowfalls. Carl is back shortly to tell us exactly what we can expect in the coming days. Well, it's back to Carl for a closer look at our local weather forecast.
And Carl, winter is well and truly back in business at the moment.
It certainly is, and it's providing us with some good rainfall and excellent snowfalls across our region. Hello once again, everybody. Let's get straight to the maps. Behind me, we have got Sunday morning here for you. So frosty starts across the weekend, particularly on Sunday underneath high pressure. So we'll have severe frost warnings out for Sunday. By the time we get to Sunday, the weather will clear. But tomorrow, fast-moving trough tonight will move through around midnight, as I said earlier. This cold front will act as a slingshot, and what it's going to do is turn the wind southwest to southerly. We haven't seen that in over a month, so heavy showers and storms ahead of that. But once we get into the southwesterly flow, we'll have very cold air in the upper atmosphere, so we'll see snowfalls descend to around about 600 metres tomorrow through most of northeastern Victoria, and that includes towns around Beechworth, Bright, so really quite low-level snowfalls. However, by the time we get to Saturday, this high pressure system will come in and dry the atmosphere out. So it's going to be a short-lived burst of low-level snow, sunshine for Sunday, then another system moving in from the Great Australian Bight could produce some reasonable rain on Monday into Tuesday, and then further showers in a westerly wind regime. It's a fairly neutral, what we call neutral outlook. So high pressure dominating our part of the world, but little cold fronts coming through every 36 hours. We'll maintain the snowfalls over alpine areas and just one or two showers through the outlook beyond the weekend. Good rainfall still expected across the floodplains where the flood warnings are out, and they will be enforced for at least the next 4 to 6 days. So just be mindful of that. I know there's people moving stock around, but the rainfall, the heaviest of the rainfall, will be tonight and tomorrow, up to 50 millimetres of rain across the ranges, particularly in the northeastern alpine areas. Will fall of snow above 600 metres tomorrow. Blizzards will ease by the evening. Showers for the plains, local hail and thunder, squally southwesterly winds and temperatures. Well, that's winter 12 degrees for Albury and Wodonga. A chilly start to your Saturday morning. The winds will drop out tomorrow night, so some light morning frost in areas that don't have much cloud in the morning. 12 degrees in the afternoon for Yarrawonga. Quite chilly for the O&M for Albury. 13 degrees for the Sport in the afternoon. Still some snowfalls that'll ease by the evening for southern resorts on Saturday. Sunday, bluebird conditions return to alpine areas for your Sunday. Great news for skiing. 12 degrees for Yarrawonga and 13 degrees for the remainder of the centres, 11 for Beechworth. But up to 1 metre of snow could fall over alpine areas on top of what has already fallen this week. Excellent conditions for skiing on Sunday. Settled conditions for Sunday, as I said, but that rain will return for Monday. Up to 10 millimetres of rain will ease to showers through the outlook. Look, we might even put in a fine day next week after all that excitement, guys. Yeah. Sunny sunshine next Thursday. Let's do that.
Yeah, why not? We haven't seen it. Well, today at least.
Mate, the skiing this weekend is going to be outrageous.
Very nice on Sunday. So if you can hang out until Sunday, it'll be worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
See you
Thanks,
guys
mate.
soon.
Thanks, Carl. Now let's take a look at the latest petrol price averages across the region. Albury motorists can find unleaded for about $1.27 a litre, while diesel's a little cheaper at $1.25. Across the border, unleaded is about the $1.26 mark. In Wangaratta, it's about the same, but you'll be paying a lot more for diesel, around $1.34. At Howlong, unleaded is about $1.25 per litre, while diesel is about $1.28.
And that is all we have time for tonight. You can join the debate on tonight's stories on Facebook.
And also watch tonight's top stories on our website. Thanks for your company. Coming up, 7 News from Melbourne. See you tomorrow.